the fathers of gangster rap, they wasn't pointing you to prison. In the beginning, they was painting a picture.
Right.
They was poetic. They was poetic poets.
Yeah.
Telling a story. But what started happening, these characters start appearing in real life. One of the characters was a strawberry. Strawberry is the neighborhood hoe. That's when crack first came. We call them crackheads and dope fiends. In California, they were strawberries. The strawberry is the lady who was addicted to crack, who would sell her body for crack. For a dime, $10 rock. So guess what? As kids who shouldn't be hearing this, guess what we doing when we get $20? We want to have sex with the older women that looked good to us. So that's what we was doing. We was becoming perverted. We wasn't supposed to be having sex with them grown women. They wasn't supposed to be able to do them type of things, huh? But every time, every dollar I got was going to Mexican Maria. That's why I got a Mexican baby now. I was doing that at 13 years old.
Today I bring to you the chameleon of comedians, the insulter of consulters, and the truth teller amongst world misinformation. To be brief, I'll just introduce you once again to my friend, Mr. Charleston White. I hope you enjoy this interview on the Tee Cad by Uncommon Souls.
A lot of my friends, I got a section of them that committed murder as children. But then I saw the others who they did nothing but sell drugs. And the mistletoe that hung over their head was, I don't never want to be poor again. So I started paying attention. So I sold drugs out of greed. Don't want to work. I'm educated. I can get a job. I know how to do a resume. I can go borrow some money from my mom and she'll make me write a plan, a promise to pay, a promissory note. So I have alternatives to committing crime. I never sold drugs for money. It was more for the lifestyle, to be a part of the good guys, to be able to wake up, not go to work, be a bullshit, lazy motherfucker. But then there were some guys who, they did this because they are never going to go back to being poor like they was as a kid.
But there's so many people that have that same sentiment about jail. But it's so counterintuitive. But they're also like, man, I'm never going back to jail again. But they still go back to slinging because it's all they know. Now, your other point, I get. I do get the. It's we're creatures of habit. Yeah. Right.
It's not all you know. It's all that you know that works right now. If my tooth is hurting, I need it to stop right now. I don't need it to stop next Friday. When I get this job, there was times I would have to say, Mama, can I borrow some gas money? I don't quit selling weed. When I made my mind up to just leave crime alone, I was in my mid-20s. My son was 6 months old. I probably sold 1 pound or 2 pounds of weed every day. Good money coming in at that time. I stopped doing that to go pick up trash with Goodwill on side of the highway. I got $40 a day.
Right. That's the big drop off though, right? That's why a lot of people aren't exposed to options that will get them there, certainly as fast, because you got to start over.
Well, for one, I'm picking up trash on side of the highway and I ain't got clothes to pick up trash in. I got $300 throwback jerseys.
So what made you do it? What makes you do it and not someone else do it?
I've been doing all this for an identity. So I started out stealing cars, hanging with the car thieves, the kids that stole cars that we thought was cool. Then when crack came, you got Big Paul Chappelle. Big Paul Chappelle was the 18, 19-year-old kid that had a lot of dope that could front the 12, 13, and 14-year-old kids. Well, that's what the other cool kids was doing in the 8th grade. So when we get out of school in an 8th grade at Hutchinson Junior High, man, we got a Pizza Hut right there. The niggas that got to sell dope, man, they got all the cute girls. They buying pizza. Hey, what you want? So, but they ain't got nothing but $100. But to us, at 13, that's a lot of money.
Yep.
Not only that, Nike Cortez cost $40, $50 at the time. So they can go buy their own Nike Cortez, the gangster Nikes, right?
Yep.
So you want to be a part of that. It's no different than a kid who want to play football that want to hang out with the star running back. It's no different. You just want to stand next to him. The cool jock that everybody like, you just want to be seen shaking his hand, talking to him.
See, but some people grow up and other people don't. There's still people, you go back to, I won't tell you how many high school reunions I've been to because that might date me a little bit, but you go back and there's still people that are surviving on the popularity that they had in school.
Boy, thanks to social media. Thanks to social media. They get to go bang some chicks they missed out on because they was popular in school.
Right.
Only to realize he's a douchebag. He's worse now than he ever was before. He lacks the moral capacity of what a man has to be a stand-up guy.
So how do you find that out, though, at 20, say, or however old you were? So you get to the point where you finally realize, all right, these are douchebags, but I didn't know they were douchebags in 8th grade because in 8th grade we're a bunch of punks anyway. Who knows?
I didn't figure it out. I remember the first time my gang buddies from TYC saw me with a pair of red sweatpants on. I didn't want to indoctrinate my son with just blue. So I wanted my son to be, so I knew psychologically what that could do. Just he'd wake up his dad in blue. So I was 25, 26 years old when I first put on red from 15. And I remember going by my rolling 30 Crip partners and they looking at me crazy. I've always been a leader. I became a coward that day because I lied to them on why I had the red pants on. I told them I'm finna go score some weed, man, from this blood, nigga. Now, I lied. That was a coward move. But I was just starting to embrace fatherhood. When the guys called in the middle of the night and they said, "Come on, man, let's go, man. Man, I need you to come ride with me to go over here, man. We go to Longview." I packed my son up one day, and this was it. My cousin was a big-time drug dealer. Probably sold half the keys in this city. His little brother wanted to be just like him. So the little brother was trafficking drugs at Longview, and he needed a ride to take a key. I had just broke up with my baby mother. I had quit selling weed. I'm getting $40 a day, man, picking up trash on side the highway. And I got to stand in line at the end of the day. I got guys who's running the bus. They're not too nice. They picking and choosing. So it was a lot of obstacles to keep waking up to make this right choice every day. It was a lot of barriers.
Right.
So
the job's hard enough and they're making it even harder.
On top of that, I got to deal with the shame of being a big time weed man and people riding by saying, "Say, ain't that blue on side the highway?" I got to deal with that shame. People seeing me picking up trash on side the highway with the Goodwill people. I got to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go stand down here downtown by the homeless shelter for the Goodwill buses to come pick me up. And I had to catch a ride to do that.
But you're making my case. How does that
I had my mind made
transition?
up. You have to have your mind made up. Once your mind is made up, there's nothing can change it.
Okay.
There's no circumstances, there's no obstacles, there's no trials, there's no tribulation. Once your mind is made up, when you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, it's over with. You're gonna change.
A lot of it was your kids.
Well, I wanted all my life, I've been making wrong choices to be somebody, to have an identity. Gangster. So I played gangster for a little while. Somebody ended up getting killed. Found out I don't want to really be gangster. I don't want to hurt people. So we sold dope. I'm going to be a hustler. I'm going to be a crack dealer. Because the image of the crack dealer was something to be admired. Being a dope boy, right?
Until you live
That's
it.
a hell of a title.
Yeah.
So I wanted that. I wanted that because all boys want an identity. That's why we want to be Superman. We want to be He-Man.
Yeah.
Or we want to be Dad. So when we finally get to sneak in the bathroom and stand up on the thing, we get dad clippers and try to shave ourselves. So because we starting to identify with our father, we start thinking dad is a hero. We don't know nothing outside of his identity. So we want to be like dad. That's our identity, naturally. So without that, you don't want to be like mama unless you start wearing her house shoes and putting on her heels, stomping through the house. Well, most people would say, boy, get out that girl shoe, get out your mama's shoe, boy. So we had men around that could correct boys. So, but it was the wrong kind of man. So I never wanted to play in mama's shoes. I always seen the wrong kind of man. Yeah. So that's the identity, because I'm thirsty and every glass I get is muddy water. So I'm going to drink the muddy water because I'm thirsty. I'm not going to die of thirst. Whatever bacteria disease I get for drinking the water, I'm going to drink that water because I'm thirsty. Now, if you put me some clean water and some dirty water, well, I'll pick up the clean water. So my mother was young. So she don't know what to start exposing us to till she start looking at life differently, till she start seeing things differently. So then she start knowing that it's an importance to make sure that as a single mother, I have to have my sons exposed to some positive male influences. My dad's in prison. My brother's in prison. He's a pimp. He's a woman beater. Go over aunt's house, Uncle Joe Campbell. So you got all these elements. Not that these are bad people. Not that these are bad people.
Bad choices.
Yeah, bad choices. And so I'm saying throughout all my life, I made bad choices to try to establish an identity as a boy and as a man, until I realized at this point in life, this boy can give me everything I've been about to kill for. This boy about to give me everything I ever been wanting, identity. I'm a father. I'm a daddy. And I never left that. I stayed there. I walked away from wanting to be a pimp. I stayed there. And that's where I found Charleston. That's where I found me in fatherhood.
That's awesome. I mean, and everybody's got their own story. And I know that was a significant part of yours. We've talked about a number of times about your children. And yet when I did the fishbowl stuff, I mean, I first of all can relate to kind of the cultural coolness to the whole vibe. I had a lot more freedom to feel cool because I wasn't actually engaging, so I wasn't going to be risking prison or anything like that. But I can see where a dope dealer would think that moniker carries something cool until you start living it and realizing that it's not cool at all. And when we debrief people, I had one dude that had 3 kids in the same year, and he couldn't remember middle names for 2 of them. He was struggling to remember, and then one of them he thought it was this, but he couldn't spell it. That to me is, it doesn't compute to me, but I know it happens all the time. And that's why I say it was different about you. Because that's the difference, is that it affected you the way it would affect me. And the way it did affect, I changed my life trajectory too when my son came. Yeah. But thousands, millions even of men aren't affected like that. And they still keep acting a fool. And there's certain stimuli that needs to be had, or there's some kind of other solution. Because I know
you just said something very critical and very important. You said stimuli. You know the experiment they do with dogs, the one that make his mouth water up. You hold up fatherhood can be so shameful and painful. You can't get your stimuli, so you run from it. I ran away for 20-some days. I ran away from mama's kids. I didn't answer the phone. I went and hung out with my Latin King partners in Poly. And man, I ain't answered the phone. I celebrated my birthday. So I think I was in my 32, 33. Never been absent.
Yeah.
But I just let my mother say, son, because I was struggling at the time. I don't have a real work ethic. I can go get a job, but I don't have a work Ethic. I can learn fast, but man, I'm gonna get bored on the job. You know what I'm saying? So my mother said, son, because she see me struggling, she said, why don't you come back home? Because I was a single dad at the time. My baby mama was in jail. Why don't you come back home, son, and hit the reset button, save you up some money, and then go back out. Okay, cool. Made sense. I had landed a warehouse job, was making good money weekly, could put all the overtime in I want, and I like going. I was rear-ended leaving work one day. I was rear-ended leaving work one day and ended up in a trauma center. So, got a concussion.
Yeah, rear-ended hard.
Yeah, well, she was texting and driving. The insurance company offered me $55,000. At the time, my medical bills were like 40-something. I should have took the 55. But listening to the lawyers, they trying to pursue the whole insurance policy.
Right.
They're greedy, not me. But I'm listening to the lawyers. We go to mediation. Still offering the 50. My mom said, you think y'all to take it? I think, but the lawyer's saying, girl, you better call IJustGotHit.com. Okay, so that's what you're thinking. So in the process, I got this money, this invisible bag that I'm going to go get down the road. The lawyer say, let's go to trial. We go to trial and lose.
Oh.
Don't get nothing. Because Dallas County, I probably would have got $300,000. Very liberal city. Fort Worth is more conservative. Here I am sitting up on the jury. The jury, and one of the questions that they ask you, hey, Mr. White, have you ever been convicted of a crime of moral turpitude? They ask you that in the deposition. Well, you don't even know what moral turpitude is. No, I ain't, but I did. So I said no. So they know I've been to TYC for murder. The insurance company, they find out everything. But they can't bring it up.
No, that's why I'm curious already.
Listen.
Yeah.
Listen.
Okay.
Hey, where did you go to high school? These are deposition questions. Hey, I didn't go to high school. Oh, you didn't? Do you have a high school diploma? No, I don't. And I was kind of cocky at the time, coming out the streets. So you don't have no high school diploma, no college degree? Well, I got a GED. Oh, where did you get your degree? In TYC. What is TYC? Texas Youth Commission. There you go.
It still has nothing to do with it.
Well, it has to do with your character.
Yeah.
Because we have too many commercials that's going on black radio stations. So most white jurors are thinking black people are exaggerating the if you hadn't broke an arm, you hadn't lost an eye, or you hadn't died, it's hard to convince this predominantly white jury that you're not playing for the money with the hook and crook lawyers that is pretty much propagated on all commercials.
Yeah.
So how do you meet your lawyer? How did you find out about this chiropractor? How did your lawyer refer you to the neurologist? All them in bed together. The insurance company know this, but you don't know this.
Right.
And you're legitimate hurt.
Yeah.
And you got legitimate doctor bills. But they're exploiting you. And the insurance company know that you're poor and you should have took the $55,000 and y'all being greedy.
Yep.
And that's the truth.
And you're following counsel.
I'm following counsel.
Man, we're all leaning on counsel. Like, you guys are smarter than me at this.
They paid for me to go get my gold teeth taken out so I can be presented to the jury better.
Oh, Lord.
They paid. These don't come out. I had to go to a dentist and They paid for them to be taken out. Oh, so I can be presented better. Yeah. But I forgot. I was married to my kid's mother at the time. And so I'm following counsel. They say neurological damage, are you having problems with your sex life? I'm saying, well, yeah, I hadn't had sex in 11 months. So you're struggling with erectile? I don't know. Well, yeah, possibly. So you say that in the deposition to the insurance company. Well, it says you're married. You're having problem with your wife or your girlfriend. Well, me and my wife separated, so I'm having problem with my girlfriend. I'm a cocky guy coming out the streets with gold. So I'm asking, I'm being stupid.
Yeah, all irrelevant.
All
might
irrelevant.
Be stupid, but
this is
zero relevance.
It's gonna be used against you because it's recorded. These are sworn deposition.
Yeah, yeah.
So when the insurance company, they asking you this in front of the jury. So hey, so this goes towards to assassinate your character. Only to show the jury that, hey, we know this guy got hurt, but we don't believe it's $150,000 worth of. So, but you're not suing. So when you go to court and sue the insurance company, the jury make it look like you suing this pretty little lily blonde white woman over there with the Louis Vuitton purse, because on the paperwork it don't say Allstate, it says her name.
Right.
So when they took me down that road, that rabbit hole. And I saw the lawyers drop their head. Yeah, I walked away. I caught the bus. I didn't have a car at the time. I was a temporary worker on the job. So, of course, I'm going to lose the job because of the injuries. I couldn't go back and work.
Yeah.
So that sent me into a whole nother direction. I had just completed. I was transferring from Tarrant County Community College, and I was going to go to a HBCU. I was going to enroll into Paul Quinn. And due to the accident, I ended up, by default, ended up at Texas Wesleyan. Which that's where God wanted me.
Yeah, it's a blessing in disguise. That's a great place to go.
That was my best education in life.
Yeah.
I made the front paper of the Rambler. I was nominated student of the Man of the Year. I made the dean's list. I pulled my pants up. That's when I stopped sagging.
So that's a problem, though, that you paint. I know last time we talked a little bit about racism, different little things like that.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to dig it up so specifically, but so that scenario you paint, racism or socioeconomic bias, could it be either? Or, and I assume you would agree that crap still goes on, right?
Yeah. Well, racism is hidden. It's in the teachings, right? So you don't know what a motherfucker been taught when you're applying for a bank, you're applying for a job. When a cop pull you over, you don't know what he's been taught. It's hidden. There are no more signs. Ain't nobody saying, get out the car, nigga.
Right.
So it ain't no more sign. It's hidden. Most of us don't know how to see it because we have our own ideology that's either distorted or inaccurate.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't want to see it.
That's what
or
I'm
they
saying.
don't want to admit they're a part, or they're a contributing factor to something that could be inadvertent or
so you got a bunch
ignorant.
I believe you got a bunch of white people who are racist, who don't think they're racist, and they believe they're being prejudiced. But because they're in a position of power and they have control over people's lives, it excludes them from being prejudiced. In this position, you're racist.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You have a lot of black people who think they're black racists, where they're not in a position of power. They're just hateful, prejudiced people. And I always like to use these two examples. Archie Bunker and George Jefferson. Two prejudiced guys.
Yeah.
Who was able to come to television and appear to be racist. But it was just prejudice ideologies from either lack of understanding or lack of knowing.
Yeah. If you'd swapped roles, though, if George Jefferson were living in the little shotgun shack down there, and you had Archie Bunker living in a high-rise, he may have been a little bit more guilty.
He would have been considered a racist.
But in those situations where you have the attorney, especially in a depot, you're doing that stuff on tape and everything else, I can envision that being a breadth of people, but all poor people, because I think a lot of the people that do take advantage and take the risk of doing insurance fraud or whatever and saying, yeah, I want to try to claim this money even though I'm not hurt, who end up screwing you over, who actually got hurt. I think a lot of those people come from poor communities. That's where they were advertising, right?
Well, that's why you hear them on hip-hop radio stations. That's why you hear them mostly on hip-hop radio stations. You see these commercials, the Jim Handler, you see these commercials after Maury Povich, Jerry Springer.
Yeah.
You know, all the shit that poor people watch, you know, not black people, but poor people. Give them poor white trash on Jerry Springer's. Hey, I fucked my sister. That's not your sister, that's your aunt. You know, man, they had a whole slew of people on there. Go to Maury Povich. They had a black woman who had 7 men tested. They had a white girl who had 7 men tested. Where does racism fit into this new group? They seem equal in their eyes. That's why you don't see children having race riots.
Right.
When I was in school, we had race riots at places. The Gina 6, 10, 15 years ago, they had a race riot. 20 years ago in Gina, Louisiana, the Gina 6. Even in small country towns, you know, the different, that don't exist anymore. Because the new group of black, white, Arab, Jew, they see each other equally. They're not embracing the hate that some of us got from our uncles and thought it was cool.
The youngsters, you mean?
The youngsters. I mean, the youngsters.
Yeah.
Oh,
maybe. I hope you're right. I hope you're right about that.
Listen, I'm all over the country. I'm courtside seat at the Detroit Pistons game. Who you think high-fiving the black players? Young white kids. Who you think is performing at the Jewish bar mitzvahs? Rappers. Drake. 21 Savage.
Yeah.
Jewish kids are becoming some of the best producers. The white kids are the best engineers. Man, you see white kids buying Steph Curry jerseys.
You do see, well, obviously a lot of that stuff is culturally emulated, which kind of transitions us into something else too that I was curious about, because I know we didn't get as deep into it last time, but I know we talked candidly about how you're a chameleon. I call it the chameleon, right? Yeah. So you have your persona that is real derogatory and outspoken, and you're always outspoken, mind you. So I'm not trying to divide your personality or anything, but you kind of have two different sides. You have this side, and you have another side where I might be a gangster rapper talking crap to you, and you're talking back to me, right?
Yeah.
What is your view on different kinds of rap music? Because I know when we talk about rap music, you generalize.
I love rap music. I hate rappers. So I listen to rap music every day, all day. Probably 3 days out of the month, I'm gonna spend a whole day listening to R&B slow song. But for the most part, I'm listening to music. My choice of rap music. So the music that I listen to, you won't hear nobody get killed in it.
So those rappers, though, that's what I mean. In as we generalize, those are still rappers, but they're not necessarily. Those aren't rappers that you're talking about. You're talking specifically about. Well,
today's rappers are all killers and gangsters. So you had the East Coast rappers, Kool Moe Dee, LL Cool J. They didn't propagate gangsterism. Kool Moe Dee was a guy that had the ladies dressed up in a suit and dance, fresh haircut. LL Cool J, ladies love Cool Jane. When he made the I'm Bad album, he was still cool. It wasn't gangster. When he was saying, Mama said knock you out, it wasn't pointing you to prison.
Right.
So then you get NWA, the fathers of gangster rap. They wasn't pointing you to prison. In the beginning, they was painting a picture.
Right.
They was poetic. They was poetic poets.
Yeah.
Telling a story. But what started happening, these characters start appearing in real life. One of the characters was a strawberry. Strawberry is the neighborhood hoe. That's when crack first came. We call them crackheads and dope fiends. In California, they were strawberries. The strawberry is the lady who was addicted to crack, who would sell her body for crack for a dime, $10 rock. So guess what? As kids who shouldn't be hearing this, guess what we doing when we get $20? We're not trying to go to the local girls and have to just tongue kiss and make out and not slide in the home, get the second base and have the blue balls. Man, we getting $20 to go get Mexican Maria. So we can all trick with the crack grown woman, because what young guy, all young guys want to bone an old, grown woman. 13 for men. So we didn't sell crack for kids for the money. We want to have sex with the older women that looked good to us. So that's what we was doing. We was becoming perverted. We weren't supposed to be having sex with them grown women. They weren't supposed to be able to do them type of things. But every time, every dollar I got was going to Mexican Maria. That's why I got a Mexican baby now. I was doing that at 13 years old. So when I got drugs, I'm going to sell a little some, but man, I want to freak. My testosterone levels is high at 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and we in these trap houses, right? So the NWA lyrics start evolving to seeing a woman walking down the street and rat packing her. Then it started evolving into rat packing other guys. Then it started evolving to robbery, doing robberies, car thefts. So these pictures are being painted to children. Long before Luther Campbell from the group 2 Live Crew was sued and had to go to the Supreme Court, and they ruled that parental advisory labels and stickers should be put on tapes.
Yeah.
So that's long before that's so we 3 years in before they did that shit.
Right.
But it didn't stop us from stealing the tapes out of our uncle's cars who liked it. So when I go away from 91 to 98, you start having drive-by music. So they literally got drive-by music. Music that you listen to go drive-by and kill people. They got music for that. Gangsta Nip, Scarface. So then it started evolving. 93, 94. Now here come the propagation of the Crip and Bloods by way of the culture through media. You got Snoop Dogg, murder was the case. Right. Now you got these guys in St. Ives commercials, Old English commercials. You see them? So now it's in the culture. So now they're starting to make LA Dodgers hats red. It ain't LA Dodgers blue and white. Why would they make a solid red LA Dodgers hat?
Right.
Why would they make a red New York Yankees hat? Why would they make solid blue Jordans red? So they started appealing to the natures of the gangsters in the street culture. That's how the street culture was able to evolve so effectively and swiftly in the hip hop culture, and it drowned out guys like Common. It drowned out guys like Kanye West, Jesus Walk, guys like Andre 3000, guys like Kendrick Lamar. It drowns them out.
Well, you still got those guys, man. Kendrick won a Grammy recently, which well-deserved, because that cat's still telling real stories too. And he's not pulling punches, but he's not promoting something. He's making sometimes, and I don't mean to use him as a specific example. He could be one though, where you have guys that are controversial, let's say, but it's for the sake of prompting conversations that are going to make progress, right? So you and me are sitting here talking about this. If we talked about a specific tune or something that might be...
Tupac was like that initially. Mm-hmm. Tupac, most of Tupac's first, the Tupacalypse, all of that was to spark conversation. He said that. Right. It wasn't until he got with the gangsters. And he had to start fitting in with the gangsters. He started hollering M.O.B. So Kendrick Lamar grew up. His first album, the streets could relate to it. Second album, they started saying, oh man, he's crossing over. That's the whole goal.
Right. For sure.
That's the whole goal.
I'm with you.
So
yeah.
So the youth, we support Kendrick. Kendrick got a white audience. He got a Mexican audience. He's not just limited to the chitlin circuits, as most rappers are. That's why they can't win Grammys.
And he's from Compton, for heaven's sake. So I mean, he's got his
and he a blood. And he with the pop rules. He was in that. He's in that.
But he's grown up. He's smart. He's smart about his approach.
Did you hear what you just said? You said he's grown up.
I know, but not everybody grows up.
They haven't grown up, Tegan.
I know.
I sat at the park with these niggas, man. They plug in the phone and the big light pole all day long. And sometime the community center come out and give them sack lunches. Smoke weed, they there all day long. Yeah. Walk to Taco Bell, get some, but they there all day long, every day. And they was there when they was 17 years old. They was there with Tookie Williams, Ferg came to the set.
Yeah.
They was there in 69, 70, 72 during the Baloo murders. And here it is, 2023, they still at these same parks.
That's what I'm trying to get at, though. What's the difference?
They got to die off.
What's the thing, man?
They have to die off. They got to die off.
It's going to happen.
This is the group and generation that majority, we have to put 85 to 90% of all our time, energy, and resources on our children. Let the grown-ups do, man, we have to. Because at this point in America, this country have become so divided. It ain't just white people that's hateful. Black people hateful. Mexican hateful. Arabs hateful. Everybody hate one another. So where does that leave the kids? We see the kids playing with each other, They're not hateful.
They're not indoctrinated.
No.
Yeah.
You see them on football teams together. You see them at the wrestling events. Man, they not hateful.
So how do we keep us old folk from screwing it up again?
We got to hold our politicians accountable because they appear just to be as hateful as the gangs toward one another.
Yeah.
At this point, there shouldn't be no reason why no politician can't work together to fix this country. The framers and the founders of this country, they locked themselves away during those first Continental Congress, second Continental. Man, they locked themselves in a room. There was a lot of men that had to come to an agreement on how that they was going to found and frame this country by way of its Constitution and Bill of Rights. That took some time.
Yeah, and also these two parties that rose from the ashes and solidified themselves have become such beasts.
They're hateful.
It's hard to get around that stuff.
Man, when I hear a Republican say a Democrat or a liberal, man, come on. When I hear a Democrat say, oh man, they're Republican. Man, we people.
Yeah.
These are the identities that most children like myself was fighting and dying and killing for because we just wanted to have this. It's no different than the politicians, man. Some of them lie, steal, cheat, go corrupt to maintain this identity or to maintain this power.
Yeah.
There's no difference.
Yeah. It becomes based on getting reelected as opposed to doing the right thing at risk of getting the boot and saying, I did my best, but I did it honestly.
George Washington have always been my favorite president. When I went back to college, I was in my late 20s, going into my 30s. You're a non-traditional student. I took school serious. And boy, I went in that motherfucker and I made the dean's list. I took it serious. From community college to university. I learned that George Washington was the first president that could have been a king in this country. Because the people wanted him to be president forever. He said, absolute power corrupts absolute. That a man who remains in power for a long time becomes corruptible.
Yeah, they just came from that, for heaven's sake, too. They've seen it.
He was the first man in this country said, "No, I know y'all want me to be it, man, and I can be it, but I'm not gonna do it. 2 terms, that's it."
Yeah.
I've been loving that man ever since I seen that.
He probably would have had gold teeth too, if he could have, right?
If he could have, not wood. Yeah, he would have had gold. At least silver or platinum or something, yeah.
He'd have been gangster, I know.
But that's a man with honor who know when to exit stage. It's certain things I don't put myself in a position because I know it's a chance that I would do something. Right? So
that's very insightful and introspective. And tons of people will resist doing that. All of us have something that we should stay away from that we're tempted to be in the middle of. We know it's going to be nothing but trouble. Yeah. And you've got to be disciplined enough to know how to set yourself up for success.
That's how I've been able to maintain my character and integrity for the most part working in the Black community. I work with a lot of single mothers. And for a lot of time, you become a savior, a cult-like person if you help people. That's why a lot of cult leaders, a lot of pastors, a lot of men in power can prey on women.
Police officers, pastors.
So that's what I mean by that.
Judges.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by that. And so I don't put myself in certain positions because I want to protect my character and I want to protect my integrity as a man. So that's why I don't do a lot of things. That's why I don't go a lot of places. That's why I don't hang out with certain people because I want to protect my character. What I say don't define who I am. It's what I do.
There you go. And that's part of the brilliant comedian and chameleon that you are, right? Yeah. Which is kind of where I kind of was a launch point of this because I see value in that. And I think that some people that would
admit such a thing as you do would be considered fake. But in your case, it actually is. You are the rapper that's bringing up something, living this way, saying something that brings different people to the table to start having a conversation. And I assume that that's something that you're in support of. I don't know. Well, don't let me put words in your mouth either.
I thought that's what rap was. I grew up believing as a kid that Ice Cube was a gangster. Till I grew up and realized Ice Cube produced movies. He was an educated, articulate guy that wrote raps pretty much for the whole group. Eazy-E was a drug dealer who couldn't rap. They turned him into a rapper, but he ended up becoming one of the biggest rappers.
Yeah.
I didn't know Tupac was a poetic kid, went to a performing arts school, Magnum School. Mother disciplined him, just got off on drugs. He never sold drugs. He was an avid reader. I didn't know he wasn't gangster. I didn't know he didn't move keys until I grew up and looked at his life after death. I was in my teens when Pac died. So it wasn't until I got grown, Teague, that I realized that rappers aren't really gangster.
Right. And the ones that are short-lived because they're dead or in jail.
Well, the ones that are, they ain't gonna last long.
Right. So I wonder if then, and I'm just posing this off the cuff.
So not just rappers, I realized that the street gangsters aren't as gangster as they've been portraying to us and as we believe they are. They cry in the police car. They snitch and talk to the police and ask, what time will I see the judge in the morning? They write home and say, man, I'm so I didn't know that.
You're banging to fill a need.
Yeah, I didn't know, man, when they said all rise that the gangsters stood up, because on TV, on Good Times, I seen a dude with his leg like this here chewing gum. And when they said all rise, he didn't rise. I saw that on Good Times. So in my mind, that's the nigga I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
Chewing gum. When the judge say chew the gum out, he put it on the table. Like, so in my mind, all the gangsters and street guys did that. In my mind, the police had to kick all the gangsters and street guys' ass. They don't just turn around and put their hand behind the back when the cops say turn around. The cop had to make them do it. I didn't know that when the street gangster guys who killed people, I didn't know they went to prison and didn't go to lock up. I thought all of them went down there and broke all the rules. I didn't know they followed rules in prison. I didn't know they would let another man strip them naked and look in their anus in an anal cavity search. I didn't know that they would agree to do that. I didn't know that gangsters, I thought the gangsters said, man, ain't nobody looking at my butt. Until I find out that all of this shit is a lie. These are humans with breaking points. These are humans with traumatic pasts. These are humans that didn't come out like this. They learned this. Most of them did this out of fear. Most of them became this out of fear not to be done it to them again because it happened to them. So they make sure they ain't gonna. So I started learning some things as I got older. That's how I can speak like this. But when I was 25, I couldn't speak against this culture. I would have to regurgitate a video I saw, a book I done read. But what you see now is the convictions. So I understand that most of our politicians who speak right and talk right, we've seen many end up getting caught in sexual scandals, going to prison, but they say all the right things in the public. We see some of our influencers be online saying all the right things in public, only to end up getting caught doing wrong things in the dark, right? So I wanted to do the opposite.
Yeah. I
wanted to come to the internet and say all the wrong things that would be thought-provoking, provocative, that'll make people respond, because I know in real life, I'm none of this. I'm not a loud, talking, cussing motherfucker. I'm very quiet and observant and reserved in person. But I learned how to tap into this character from trying to play all these different roles in life to try to fit in. So I done played killer, I done played gangster, I done played pimping, I done played burglar, I done played robber, I done played thief, I done played pimp, I done played all these, I done played college boy, I done played all these different roles. So now when I say, okay, let me create this character, the character was my release valve. It became my release valve.
I can see it's a creative outlet, and the fact that you are eliciting good conversations is fantastic. You get people that are hostile, but I mean, we have people respond to the stuff that you said before. But again, it's something that I find easy to address.
It's some people mad I won't come over here and do the ignorant nigga fool and talk the nigga talk. And I'm saying, man, some of the smartest authors, you tailor to what's before you. So and maybe this is not for this platform, but I heard a black guy tell another black guy, man, you can't send no Negro down there to talk to a bunch of niggas in the ghetto. You cannot send an educated Negro to go down there off in the ghetto to talk to them ignorant, crazy ass niggas. You find an educated, ignorant, crazy ass nigga to go talk to niggas. You can't get an educated, crazy nigga from the ghetto to go talk to educated Negroes. They can't deliver the message to one another.
Right.
I'm not talking to our educated people. I'm not talking to the ones that somewhat made right choices and decisions. I'm not talking to the ones that got it right. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to the ones that's doing wrong.
Yeah. And the ones that have enough gumption to listen and maybe just ask enough questions or get pissed off enough to say something that gets a response that maybe, again, starts that conversation. I think the earlier we get to the point where, when I said they're growing up, there's a difference between getting old and being grown. If we could find somebody doing what you're doing that's 25, and the harder we work, the earlier we work, the closer we can get to that. Because I still think, I run into the people that appreciate what I'm doing are older people. Because again, those are the people that, again, they're not the people I need to change. They're the people that are in support of change, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you have somebody that's 22, some will listen. I'm trying to figure out how to do that without being pretentious or pretending like I'm young or whatever. But I wonder if some of these rappers in particular that maybe aren't going to the absolute extreme, but have a message that's important that can still relate to the street life, but will be overtly come out and say, man, this is the way I actually live.
NBA
and this
Young
is
Boy.
a story.
NBA Young Boy is doing it. So if you look at this kid, NBA Young Boy, he's responsible for a lot of violence for us, his lyric wise, and some of the things that he pushed and propagated. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road, this kid is talking, saying, I want to right this wrong. He's saying what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I done a lot of damage with this. And before I die, I want to make it right. This is a kid in his early 20s that's just got out the feds.
Man, he could make he
got more influence than Tupac.
Man, he sure does, because he's unstoppable at that age.
And so he came out of prison doing the Marilyn Monroe thing, painting his fingernails. A gangster rapper who was promoting killing, painting his fingernails. I even tried to shame him. But then I had to think about what his juvenile worker told me. He was a kid that used to get jumped on, abused by other kids and even adults. So when he take the microphone, he's an angry, hurt kid that can get this pain out, and this is his way of getting back.
He paints in the face of somebody that would chastise him now because he's strong enough to be able to shun it and not let it in, right?
And he's showing the old OG guys, the old OG street niggas, that you can evolve too. He's growing way faster.
Yeah.
Because what I'm seeing is the OG guys, they're growing up, but they're growing up with the same childhood boy value system.
Right.
The same things matter to them at 16 matter to them at 50.
That's just getting old, not growing up.
Yeah.
Right? That's just now got old, and that's it.
So if you look at what our children are doing, they're showing us what to do. It's just they don't have the resources, and we don't have the understanding nor the connection with them to keep them going. That's why they give up. That's why they throw in the towel. We don't have the resources nor the connection with them.
Well, hence the chameleon hitting stages, hitting podcasts, hitting who knows what else. But I really appreciate how you're making that part of your plight, because that's something that I truly believe in too. And I, as old as I will get, I will continue to try to reach down, right? There's going to be more people below me.
Let me ask you something.
In age as I go, I hope.
Let me ask you something. Why you shy away from what you did for those kids? Why you shy away from that?
I just don't want to be, the purpose wasn't to brag about it. The purpose was to make the difference, and that got accomplished. So when somebody asks me, we've had those conversations. We had a bunch of dudes around sipping whiskey, and then they come around to me and like, oh, man, what's your legacy? And I always have the worst answer in everybody's eyes, because I don't care how I'm remembered. I care about what effect I've had on the people I leave behind. But if they don't remember that it was me, it doesn't matter. So that's really kind of how I approach that.
This what I see. This how I see you in that situation. Denzel Washington with the book in the Book of Eli.
Okay.
You just walking away from goodness. No accolades, no nothing. But this ain't for you though. This is where I come in at. The people back there gotta know, because don't nobody know. This is the story that'll break a racial barrier.
Oh, I hope so.
Man, if people knew, because I'm telling gangsters about the story. They saying, what? Man, he did. I'm telling real street gangsters that don't like snitches, hate undercover cops and everything. But when they hear that, shit, man, it changed everything.
Yeah. Well, we got to do something. I know we talked about doing something. I'm ready to.
I want to be in the movie. Yeah, shit, put me in the movie with you. Yeah, let me play one of the kids that you say. I'm little enough.
He's like, man, that 8th grader got a mustache already. Yeah. No wonder.
What's it take? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Success around the sandbox with second grade rules. A confident fake to make you do what they want when they won't pay the fool. A diplomatic face is the one to see you through. And don't let those bigots take you off your game, or just to let them loose. Just sit here in the front seat, baby, ain't that sweet? Take a little